Can you summarize the book in a few sentences so they know?
Yeah, it's Twice is the story of a guy named Alfie who discovers when he's a kid that he has the magical ability to do everything in his life twice. But the kicker is he has to live with the consequences of the second try. He can't go back and try again and again and again. So whatever happens the second time, that's it. And he goes through his life, mostly fixing his embarrassing childhood mistakes and teenage embarrassments. And then when he becomes a man and falls in love, he discovers the one caveat to the power is that it doesn't work with love. In fact, it kind of works in the reverse. If you should change your mind with someone who's in love with you and maybe go and try somebody else, then that person can never love you again. And at a very critical moment in his life, he has to make a very consequential choice about his love life and second chances.
So I'm just curious, like how much of Alfie, because of his musical backstory, is you in a way?
Most of the embarrassments that Alfie goes through are mine. I didn't have to make up too many of those. There was a moment where I tried to talk to a girl I had a crush on in junior high school and knocked a glass of milk into her lap. And all I could think of to say was, "Look at that." And then walked away. And I thought, well, I can't make that up any better. So I just threw that in a book. And there was an embarrassing make-out party when I was in fifth or sixth grade where we all went into the closets and, we sat there for 6 or 7 minutes. And I tried to kiss. The girl and I were trying to kiss, but it was so dark that I just banged my head against her head, and she said, "Ow." And that was the prelude to my first kiss. So a lot of the embarrassments that Alfie had were mine. The slicker stuff that he does later was fiction.
So you are no stranger to like magical realism. The romance aspect you are newer to, right? You've written a love story. Tuesdays with Morrie is a love story. But in this romantic way, is this why did you want to do that now?
Well, I think honestly, Lindsay, like I tend to write thematically more than plot wise. I always sort of think of what the theme is that I want to do first, and then I create a story about it. Tuesdays with Morrie obviously was a true story, and I was just trying to tell what happened. But the way that Tuesdays with Morrie breaks down every week is kind of a different subject that we discuss. That's sort of how my writing career has gone after Tuesdays with Morrie. I guess maybe I sort of think like that. And so the five people you meet in heaven, for example, I didn't set out to write a story about five people you meet in heaven. I set out to write a story about people who don't matter, who think they don't matter, and who think that they're nobodies and whatever. And I wanted to show there's no such thing as a nobody. Everybody touches somebody, everybody affects somebody. That was my theme. And then I said, what can I come up with to, illustrate that theme? And I ended up inventing a guy who goes to heaven, meets five people, and finds out that how much his life mattered. Same thing with Stranger in the Lifeboat, for example. A couple books ago, I wanted to write a book about help, and how we were always asking for help, but yet sometimes help's right in front of us and we don't take it.
Mhm.
And so then I came up with the idea of people in a lifeboat who were screaming to stay alive, and then somebody who says he's God washes into the boat and they don't believe that he's God. So it's more that. And with this book, I wanted to write about love. I've had love stories within my books. Five People You Meet in Heaven has a wonderful love story, and The Little Liar has a wonderful love story, and a lot of the books have love stories within them. But I wanted the book to be about love and the way we don't always appreciate it when we have it, and how you come to appreciate it as you get older. So it was really that. It was really like I wanted to write a story about love, and then I came up with the device to tell it.
Do you read a lot of romance books?
No, no, and I didn't read a lot of them before this either, because I know that it's a big genre now, and I didn't want to sort of fall into, oh, it's another one in that genre. I wanted to bring something hopefully fresh to it. So I thought it would be better if I stayed away from reading that. I just sort of, it's my my stab at a romance story, and whether it's any good or not, everyone else will decide.
If you have a whole day to read, what is your perfect setting? Where are you? Who,
Oh,
what are you doing?
there's got to be water somewhere, either a river, a brook, an ocean, so it sets that kind of background noise that blocks out everything else, and it's outside, somewhere outside, and something, and some kind of, and this they have to invent some kind of thing to sit in that your back doesn't, after a certain amount of time, go, okay, that's enough. Because the one thing that stops me from reading all day long is usually my back, of all things. It's not boredom, it's not my eyes, it's my back says, we got to move, we got to get up. And then when you try to read when you're standing up, it's not the same thing, whatever. So some really comfortable chair or hammock or whatever, water in the background, and about 71 degrees.
That sounds amazing. I also want that.
Let me know if you find it.